Welcome to the Dogs Are Their Best Friends podcast. I'm Emily, and my best buddy, Flynn, is here too. The purpose of this podcast is to bring you some dog stories and a few tips along the way to help you and your best friend communicate. Hi everyone, and happy August 3rd, 2020. My birthday happens to be tomorrow, and I have to tell you a quick story. Last year, about 4 days before my birthday, I got to meet some very special people, and it has to be the best birthday gift I've ever gotten. I'm adopted, and my whole life I had dreamt of meeting my biological family. Last year, on July 30th, I was hiking in the Ithaca Gorge with my very good friend, Julie. We came out, and I got all these text messages coming through. And the most important one that day was my birth dad texting me my birth information, and I started to cry. I couldn't even finish the text message. My friend Julie, she took the phone and she read it until she cried. I ended up meeting him not too many hours after that, and I got to meet my birth dad, Bobby, and my siblings, well, most of them. And, of course, I also got to learn my birth mother's name, and it was with her maiden name. So then about 10 days later, I finally figured out who she was and sent her a message and got to talk to her shortly after that. I guess what I'm doing, and the reason I'm sharing this, is just, we just need to value our family, our loved ones. The best birthday present this year would be if I could hug my adoptive family, my birth family, my good friends, but I haven't been able to do that this year. And I just want you to know that we are in this together, and just hang in there. Have hope. Enjoy these dog stories. Today, I've done something kind of different. First up is the story of Randy Jones. He is the owner of Incredible Tiny Homes up in Tennessee. And at first you'll hear the first few minutes he talks about that, and he's got a really good story, because talk about holding on to hope. He was homeless, and he'll tell you about that, and about his wonderful dog Ace. Then after that, I have a little clip from Billy Bishop, who was on episode 7. And he talks about how we need boundaries with our dogs. And he also talks about how to teach a really good recall, which means getting your dog to come back to you. So enjoy. Randy, please share with us a little bit about you. Like, you have a very interesting story about tiny homes and how you got into this whole world.
You're right.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I own a company called Incredible Tiny Homes in Newport, Tennessee. And, I was a builder. I was a school teacher. Lord, we've lived 3 lifetimes, getting to this point. And, but in '08, I had built myself up to a resort that I owned before '08 outside of Gatlinburg. And the big crash hit me, lost everything.
Wow. Went
from $12 million resort that I built from scrap to losing it all, and went to a camper.
Wow.
A buddy's camper on a buddy's piece of property. I had nothing left. Like, I didn't own nothing. So then I just drifted and wandered for 4 or 5 years. I mean, it had a place where I thought I was going to be retired, and that was it. And then feet knocked out from underneath you, and you had to start over.
You lost everything.
Everything. Yeah, there was no money. There was no large equipment, homes, savings, nothing, hidden, zero. It was gone, stripped down. So we started all, didn't really even start over, because I was never really money oriented. I just like having something to do and having a dream, So, but then I stumbled across, tiny homes, and I was building sheds, just something. I was a drifting carpenter, superintendent on some jobs and stuff like that, but I wanted something to give me a passion again.
Yeah.
And so I found the tiny home industry, and I seen where all the homes are super expensive. And I said, wow, I got to be able to build these homes that people can afford. And so we've built my first home was built out of all used lumber and scrap. Sold it for $20,000.
Nice.
And we're proud of the fact that 5 years later that we're building brand new homes for the same price.
Just
$20,000 out of the chute.
So you try to cap it at that price,
Yes.
The base. Oh, wow.
I always want to keep my base home, that if somebody needs a home to live in, it has a bathroom, a kitchen, a bedroom. You can actually live in it for the rest of your life for $20,000.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. Just like the one we're sitting in right here.
Yeah.
And so I love that whole, it gives us, we don't make a lot of money off them, of course, but it's just a sense of pride that we can actually give people home forever. I mean, it's just, and then we'll always do that.
Right.
And we got homes that go up to $100,000 too. You know, if you want to spend it, we'll spend it for you, you know, but we start at 20 and most of our homes are arranged about 35, 40 is what we sell our homes at, you know.
Yeah.
But,
wonderful.
But I always had, you know, I had a couple boys and we always had pups and dogs and stuff were always a part of my life, you know, especially when I got married and had kids and all that. Labrador retrievers because they were so friendly and lovable and all that. And we had one dog named Hank, and it was my first dog I ever had as a kid was named Hank. And so when my boys got, of course, you know, the old cliche Christmas morning puppy.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, man, I had Santa Claus feet all over the carpet, and there was a puppy, and it came.
Gosh.
And I got Hank for them at an age where I knew that it would get them through high school.
Right.
Before he passed.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the second boy graduated and then Hank passed away.
Okay.
And it was he was just such a member of the family, you know?
They are.
So then he was part of our resort. So he would wander all the 70 homes we had in there for people to stay in. Everybody loved him, and he would stand at the door and look in, and everybody'd feed him.
It's like the mascot, really.
Oh, he was a mascot.
Yeah.
So now I've got my tiny home company here, and I've been living, you know, pretty much homeless in a way. I haven't really had a home. I'll build these tiny homes for folks, and they don't need them for a couple months, so I'll just move in their tiny home.
Right, there you go.
So I've lived in probably a dozen tiny homes, and so I finally got to where we own some land here. We're settled down, where the business is somewhat getting solidified. Right. I said, it's time for me to get me a dog again. You know? Okay. So I thought, I'd gotten a Labradoodle. Amanda and I had gotten a Labradoodle, and it was cool. It was fine. She loves her Labradoodle, and I thought, I want something a little bit different and a little more athletic and a little more energy and all that. So I started looking into the wire-haired Griffon.
Yeah, it's a unique-looking dog.
I never had known of that breed, you know, and I know people want you to get a rescue dog and never get a thoroughbred dog, and in the business that I have here, I wanted them to be, like I said, kind of a mascot, but there was a certain personality and trait that I wanted in a dog. So I got the wired-haired Griffon. And it was funny, the people that sent me pictures and videos before I got them, I got them at 8 weeks. Okay. They sent me videos. Well, this one was the runt, right? It only had one spot. All of them were real pretty and all this stuff. And then he was the one dominating the whole litter. And he was little, and he was dominating everybody. Ooh. And I thought, you know what? Nobody's going to want him. And then I was the last one to be, you know, customer. Sure enough, I got that guy. Yeah. Got him. And everybody thought he was going to be a terror. Yeah. He was going to be just roar. And he, as you've seen, laid back. Yes. Listens to everything I do. He's the most lovable thing. Yeah. And I was at the point where, you know, I work all the time, and I come home in the evenings and up in the morning, and I'm always alone. Yeah. And I was like, God, I want a pup again. You know, I really needed a companion. Yeah. You know, and they are. And his eyes look at me like her human eyes, and he just looks at me. And I really, because this is a really high stress, you know, business that I'm in. It's massive. I never thought it would be this massive, but you know, we got 50 employees. We're building 150, 200 homes a year. It's just everywhere. Yeah. And now Ace is his name, Ace.
Yeah. And why that name? I have to ask you.
You know what? I was thinking, what am I going to call him? What am I going to call him? And I swear, and this is how I usually always do it. It just came in my mind. Okay. I have no idea. That name just popped up. And I said, Ace, it is. I was like, what am I going to call him? And it appeared to me. Well, come to find out, the company name of the land that we're sitting on, it was Ace Products.
No way. Whoa. You didn't know?
No, not till about a couple weeks later. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. That's cool. This used to be old Ace Products. And I was like, oh my God. So it was kind of cool. But yeah, his name's Ace. I thought it was real quick and easy and simple. And,
true to
call it. But he has just
Yeah.
been a joy to have, because he sleeps, you know, next to me he'll be on the floor next to my bed. Yeah. He follows me around. I go to the bathroom, he follows me to the bathroom. He follows me to the kitchen, follows me out in the shop. Yeah. And now we got, you know, all these employees. Everybody loves on him. Everybody helps him, you know, and it's just been he's part of the family, the crew now,
That's
you know.
They are. Yeah. Can't imagine life without them once you have them again in your life.
Oh, yeah.
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 Absolutely.
And I'm like at the age, I'm thinking, okay, So the lifespan of these dogs, I only get a couple more dogs, before I may be checking out of here.
It's
So,
It's true. It's true. I thought about that with him.
Yeah.
I get that.
It's like, how many do I get, So,
you don't
but
know.
they're just, and I thought, will a dog be able to live in my environment?
Right.
And he
Unique, very
adapted
unique.
so well with my, my routines. I'm in and out of the office, in and out of the warehouse, the shop. I'm a carpenter, I'm a builder. I talk to clients and all that stuff. And he just is so reverent to everywhere I go.
Wow. That's great.
So, it's odd because people say, you know what? He acts like you. He has your temperament. He has all that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Love
weird.
it. You picked up.
Yeah.
Picked it up from you. Do you have any silly stories of things he's done, or has he done anything crazy in the shop?
Well, he's on YouTube all the time.
Right.
So
that's how I knew you had him.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he's on YouTube and he'll do the antics, He'll grab all this debris that we got laying around plastic and he'll run around after it and he'll trip over it and roll over on it and trip his... Yeah, he's always... And then we got... First of all, he was scared of water. Like he wouldn't walk on puddles, right? Like when it rained, he would go around the puddles or just stop and not want to go across them.
Oh my gosh.
So now he's fixated on water. He loves it, and he'll stare at a puddle looking for bugs in it or something, and you can't get him away from it. Hey, come on, buddy. And he'll look up at me and look back down at the water,
Really?
He loves water. And
This
we
is
got
an
a
obsession
pond
right now? Like he's still doing this? Okay.
Oh, he'll get out in the pond and just stare at it, and he'll like to walk through the pond for hours. He'll just walk in the water.
Love it.
Yeah.
Dogs are so funny.
And he'll walk through. We got the woods out back. And I've never had to teach him anything. He'll do a little bit and come back to space between us.
Wow.
And always come back all the time.
Recall's good.
Had him in the kayak. He's kayaked with me. Yeah, he's been on road trips with me.
Yeah.
Sleeps, does good. I've never had to just really... He has just worked right out.
Yeah. He's so bonded with you. I'm sure that's why he listens to you so well, right? He's just he's your dog.
Well,
There's
we were
no
on
doubt.
YouTube the other day, and I had some treats in my pocket because I wanted to keep them with me while we're talking. And I said, I'm going to try something. And we were live. You may have seen it. And I said, speak, And he looked up at me and I said, speak. And I went, row, row. And I was barking for him. And he barked.
Did he really? Wow.
He did it 4 or 5 times in a row. I didn't even hear it. It's like
I didn't see that
picked
one.
it up that quick.
I got to watch it.
I was
Nice.
like, wow.
That's amazing.
So now he speaks on command.
Yeah. Awesome. He's amazing.
But
Yes.
I just wanted a dog to not run off. So like there's a cat running on.
Oh.
I'll tell him, stay. He doesn't go. And like when you walked in with your dog, I told him go to the bed and lay down.
Right.
He didn't bother me.
Right.
I didn't have to push him down. I have to chain him, nothing. He was just like there in the bed and he stayed.
Smart.
He's only 7 months.
Yeah.
So a wired hair Griffon, I totally recommend. The reason I liked him is because the labs will shed.
Mm-hmm.
He won't shed at all. I mean, I guess he does, but I don't see it. You can grab a handful. There's no hair come out of him.
Wow. And you don't have to have him shaved or anything, though. Like cut the hair. Okay.
I haven't done anything for him 7 months.
Yeah.
Nothing. He doesn't shed. They're wiry haired, of course, kind of, and they're good out in the woods, super personable.
Right.
He's got the really distinct brown head with the gray body, which is cool for the wired haired. And he's our mascot. So we've got a logo and he's in our logo.
Love it.
So I got a 52 pickup truck. He's in the back of it pulling a tiny house. So that's our logo. So he's a marketing tool plus a companion too.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Another dog lover is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. And come see Ace if you want to check him out.
There you go.
Right.
I hope you enjoyed Randy's story. And now here is Billy's advice. If you want to share a training tip that you feel that people could use in their daily life with their dogs, that would be awesome.
I think one problem that I see with a lot of people with dogs is they don't set boundaries for their dogs. And when you think about dogs, wild dogs have boundaries. They have alpha dogs and they have subservient dogs. And so they're used to that boundaries and structure. And I think that you have to set those for dogs. And they become more happy in that, where like, no, when I ask you to come, you have to come. You cannot go the opposite direction. Like these are roles or responsibilities that you have to have. And so I would pick those things out that are very important to you. Like me, a cardinal sin is not coming when you're called, because I travel a lot with my dogs. So if we're in a parking lot, if we're in a dog park, if we're in a field, there may be a mama sheep with her lambs chasing my dog, and it's not paying any attention. So when I ask it to come, it's got to come, or it could get injured, or it could be in the road, and you've got to come when you're called. And so, like, pick those things, and those are important, and you've got to convey those importance to your dog. So I think that's a real important thing. So I've got, a few of those things that are important to me, and I pass it on to my dogs, and it makes the dogs good dogs, because I'm around a few dogs that people have or bring to the house that, they're not pleasant to be around sometimes, because maybe they're jumping on you too much, or they're chasing cats, or they're dragging people on the leash. And that doesn't always look like fun pet ownership to me. So, pick those things and set standards for your dogs, and you will be surprised how dogs actually rise to that occasion. My dogs love to please. And so when you give them opportunities to please, they're just so happy.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. And you're right about like having them come back to you. That is literally a life-saving thing, whether it's a sheep, worrying about sheep, like you were just talking about, or cars, or just even, and then lie down, of course, is good if they're on the wrong side of the road for the cars. You can tell them to lie down and stay put. But yeah, excellent advice there for sure.
And I remember one time where I realized the importance of this is I was in Lexington, Kentucky with a young puppy, and it was a border collie puppy named Tex. And I just walked him on the polo fields there at the horse park. And Tex had showed no interest in working sheep because he was just a younger pup. And there was a lot of purple martins on the polo field eating the grasshoppers, and they're flying in and out. And those purple martins caught Tex's eye, and he chased those purple martins. And he just got so enthralled in chasing those birds that, when he started chasing them, they kind of flew away. Well, he followed them, And and had I not had a recall on him, we would probably be almost to Virginia by now. But it was just so important because he was a young pup and he was working, and so you can't get mad at a young guy going to work. But if he didn't have that, we would have been in a lot of trouble.
Yes. Oh my goodness. A lot of trouble. And Billy, how do you start? Like I start with like a 50-foot lead and I have the dog come back to me. Like what's your technique? Are you like within a fenced area or like any recommendations on how to start teaching your dog the recall or to come back to them?
I try to set them up for success. And so I try to get them in a place where there's not a lot of distractions. And I do put a cord on them. And what I'll do is I like to do my pups in just a 4x6 kennel, and I'll let them drag the leash around in there, and I'll step on it and ask them to come. And sometimes they don't want to come, and I'll just coax them with the lead back to me and give them lots of praise, and then do it again. And I only mess with the puppies for about 3 minutes. And about 3 minutes, you're starting to get at the edge of their focus, and then they really don't want to participate anymore. And so you're better to do it like 3 minutes 5 times a day than 15 minutes in one session with a young dog. So I'll do that.
Right.
And plus with having so many dogs that are well trained, when the puppies are running around with the older dogs and I blow a recall whistle or call them to come, all my older dogs come. And so the puppy just gets used to coming whenever I blow the whistle or I call. So that helps as well. So, but the cord, and then adding a little bit of length and maybe a little bit of distraction, and then lots of praise and reward when they're done.
I have to say that the awesome gift of this year is actually having people that love dog stories as much as I do. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I wish you blessings and peace, and hug that beautiful dog of yours. Please be sure to go to dogsarethebestfriends.com and give me your feedback. Did you like this type of episode? Do you have some dog stories to share, or do you know somebody that has some to share? I have a ton of great interviews already ready to bring out to you, but I'm always happy to look for more because I can't get enough about talking about dogs. I will see you next week.